So today we're going to talk about China's contact with the outside world during the later dynasties, the Tang, the Yuan, and the Ming. Our essential question for today is, how did the foreign contact policies or decisions of the late dynasties affect China? Our goal is to be able to evaluate the benefits and drawbacks, the positives and negatives of foreign contact during the late dynasties. During the Tang Dynasty, trade was largely open. We can see a large portion of the Silk Road actually protected by China, so they encouraged trade during this time. People were coming from Persia, India, and even as far as Europe. So trade flourished during the Tang Dynasty. Merchants, missionaries, and other visitors were brought in through these same trade routes. That meant thousands of foreigners lived in seaports and in Chang'an, the Tang Dynasty capital. Upper-class Chinese welcomed new products and ideas from foreign cultures, partly because they were the ones that could afford to wear the lavish gems and materials, rubies, pearls, and other jewels. They were the ones that could afford to eat new foods such as spinach, garlic, mustard, and peas. Chinese music was also greatly influenced by new instruments brought from India, Persia, and other parts of Central Asia. The religion of Buddhism became a major part of Chinese life during the Tang Dynasty, and Buddhist monks and missionaries ran schools, hospitals, and lodgings for travelers. However, toward the end of the Tang Dynasty, foreigners and their beliefs became less welcome. Violence actually broke out against foreign merchants, in part because of that resentment of their success. Despite that distrust of foreigners, sea trade still flourished. The wealth of Buddhist monasteries also brought some resentment. Influential Chinese began attacking Buddhism as a foreign religion. In 843, the government, which needed money, began seizing Buddhist property. Thousands of Buddhist worshippers had to give up their way of life. Monastery shrines and temples were destroyed. The harsh end to the Tang Dynasty, under Mongol rule, foreigners ruled China for nearly 100 years. Travel along the Silk Road became very safe, and they developed a far-reaching maritime trade on the sea. They set up stations every 20 miles where traders could find food and a place to sleep, and Christian missionaries were allowed to attempt to convert China and form an alliance between Europe and the Mongols. But both of these goals ultimately failed. Travel and trade was greatly expanded under Mongol rule. Ships from India brought diamonds, pearls, ginger, and cotton. There was muslin from Ceylon. There was black pepper, walnuts, and cloves from Java. Many foreigners also brought special information or skills. Muslims brought their great architects. Persians brought astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and water management. One of the most famous travelers to the Yuan dynasty was Marco Polo, depicted here. His famous route along the Silk Road provided a lot of information to Europeans about an otherwise unknown dynasty. Foreigners enjoyed high status under Yuan rulers because, unlike Chinese merchants, they could travel freely and did not pay taxes. So when Marco Polo, a merchant from Italy, crossed Persia and the southern branch of the Silk Road, he was able to reach Kublai Khan, and amazingly, he represented him as a government official, making inspections and touring around China. He traveled for 17 years before returning home, and he dictated an account of his experiences, giving Europeans that first-hand account of China. That brings us to foreign contacts under the Ming Dynasty. The Ming Dynasty felt other nations should acknowledge China's superiority by paying tribute. Emperor Chengzu in 1402 actually wanted more tributaries, so he gave his advisor Zheng He the title of the Admiral of the Western Seas. Famously, Zheng He created a large armada or fleet of 300 ships carrying 28,000 men, including sailors, soldiers, translators, merchants, and doctors. Zheng He's ship returned filled with precious cargo from 30 or more tributaries that he had collected. However, though he had his famous travels, upon his death, a new emperor began ruling China, and under that new leadership, Ming rulers wanted to protect their people from foreign influences, so they forbade travel outside of China. And as we know, his ships were burned. Scholar officials in a huge complex government wanted one unified state with a single ruler and traditional values, which created a closed-door policy for China.